Hi, it's Dave here, and I'm with my wife, Cathy.
Bonjour.
This is the... What?
Hello.
All right.
I've completely
just totally
thrown
threw
you.
me. This is the cinema. It's where we walk to the movies, then we walk home from the movies, and that's it. We're going to see Captain Marvel today. Marvel's Captain Marvel, as I've
Is that
seen
what it's called?
Well, you know, often they put Marvel's The Avengers or whatever, so it's now Marvel's Captain Marvel.
It's ridiculous.
We can't go to this together because logistics. So Cathy's going to go to a screening now, then me and Oscar are going to go off and have fun at rhyme time, and then we're going to do a swapsies. And then later, we'll have both seen it.
And we'll reconvene.
It's a 6-hour marathon 2-movie set, this.
But we love when we do this because we both get to go to the cinema on our own, have time on our own. And actually, funnily, last time we did this, I think was for Spider-Man. And loads of our listeners wrote in saying that they do this a lot. People with kids or just people in general.
Actually, I prefer
they can't
going,
get to the cinema with other people.
I prefer going with you.
Yeah, but I'm very happy to go on my own on a Saturday morning. Anyway, Captain
bit of a
Marvel.
disconnect here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to be such an inconvenience.
Sorry, you're not an
At
inconvenience.
the cinema.
Captain Marvel is like, I haven't even seen a trailer for it. The only thing I've seen is the end of the Avengers, or one of those movies where they kind of teased it.
Yeah, Infinity War.
Yeah, and then I really like Brie Larson. Like, I'm a huge fan of her, so I think she's amazing,
great.
and I'm really glad she's heading it up. I know they did like CGI on Samuel L. Jackson to make him look younger, so
Yeah,
I'm fascinated.
I'm interested in that because we've seen them do that a lot now. We've seen it on Robert Downey Jr.
But not for a whole movie.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only ever a scene.
I can't wait to see. The thing is, Samuel L. Jackson like looks quite young for his age anyway, so I think he's like less hard work maybe than someone who's a bit more aged.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you think they were like the ILM people were just like, oh, Sam Jackson, 90 minutes, no problem, easy. But just smooth out a few wrinkles.
Yeah, I mean, he's aged really well. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I tend to enjoy the Marvel movies that are standalone origin stories more because they're not so convoluted and I don't have to remember anything. So in that instance, it's probably a good thing that I'm going to this one on my own as opposed to another one where I can't follow it. But ultimately, I'm not that excited. I mean, I'm excited, and like I like Brie Larson, so I'm excited to see her. But really, like, I don't think Marvel should be applauded for having a female lead. Like, what, 20 movies in? Like, it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. And like, for better or worse, it's something DC did a long time ago with Catwoman. The Halle Berry one.
Catwoman.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I will not praise them in any way for doing this because it's just pathetic that it's taken them this long.
That movie did so much, A, for feminism and B, for basketball.
So yeah, in the sense of it being a female lead, that actually isn't something that I'm particularly excited by because I just think it's too little too late anyway.
You don't think this is like a sort of a breakthrough for feminism?
No, because...
Released on International Women's Day.
No, I don't think that at all. I think that's an absolute gimmick because I think if Marvel really cared about feminism and putting women, you know, equal to men, then they wouldn't have made 20 crap movies starring all male leads.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, no, I really don't think they need to be praising
sorry.
this.
To be honest,
DC have honestly done a better job on it. Like,
I was being a little facetious. I don't really...
I think the International Women's Day thing is okay, first of all, I'm a big advocate of International Women's Day, but I think them releasing this movie on the day is nothing but a stunt and it's complete lip service.
Okay, I agree with you. I don't think they've done enough to date, but I still think...
Wonder Woman even came out, what, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, but look, it's better that this is happening late than not happening at all.
Sure.
And I think... Well, I think the...
I mean, I'm glad Brie Larson's in it.
Movies like this need to happen, and we can... You know, I think you can get hung up on the point that there hasn't been enough movies with leading female characters in this genre. That's a fact. But the real issue...
Haven't been enough. There's essentially been none.
Well, yeah, that equals not enough.
It's an understatement.
But I think this needs to happen because clearly the sort of toxic reaction to just the possibility of this movie indicates that there's corners of society that are really need to get their arse in gear.
I agree,
catch up with the rest of the world.
But Marvel have propagated that issue because they've waited so long to do it, and then they've made such a big deal out of it. You know what I mean? If they'd done it 3, 4, 5 movies into the saga, I don't think there would have been this kind of backlash. They've created the issue by making, like, essentially there's no female characters in the movies, right? They've got Scarlett Johansson, who never really does anything, and they've got Elizabeth Olsen, who doesn't do much either, and they've created a situation where they've got just have no women really in these movies, like in any real capacity. So therefore, now they're making a big deal, and like they've waited. I keep saying 20. Am I right? It's about 20 movies.
Yeah.
And they made a really big deal, and they're releasing an International Women's Day, and that doesn't justify anyone being awful and trolling anyone. But like they're part of the problem. Like they've made it they've completely othered the fact that there's a female star of this, and DC really didn't do that with Wonder Woman.
I think. Well, look. Certainly, you can look at it and say it's a cynical move potentially for a giant corporation like this to try and do that. However, it's and look, the other fact, and this is not me being an apologist for the state of the world or the state of comic books, but they're drawing from 50, 60 years of characters that are all tend to be just men.
Yeah, but they're choosing which ones to put on screen, though.
Yes, no, true, but I mean, literally, if you look at the roster, they're all men, and that's because they were written in the 60s and 70s.
But Captain Marvel,
by
this movie's set in the 80s, so this movie is set before a lot of the other 90s. Movies, or 90s, whatever. Yeah. Like they didn't need to wait till now to release it. Anyway, we're getting caught up in semantics, and I am excited to see Brie Larson, as I said, and I actually think I'm going to enjoy this movie because of the nature of it being standalone.
I'm actually not that interested in this movie. As in, I'm not that pumped for it. You know, normally I like this stuff, but I'm hoping to come out the other side and suddenly be a Captain Marvel convert.
Why aren't you pumped?
Interest. I don't know. I have no interest in the character.
Because Marvel have waited 20 movies to introduce her.
No, I don't know the character. I never read her in the comics.
Yeah, but I never read any of the other ones, and I know them now because they've absolutely shoved them down my throat.
Yeah, fair enough. But I tend to just like these movies anyway. So I hope and imagine I'm going to come out the other side being like, hey, this is great. Brie Larson is kick-ass. Can't wait to see her in the next Avengers.
I have seen some like video clips of her on YouTube of like her training and how fit she is, and she's like pushing cars and stuff. So like it looks incredible.
I think she's brilliant, and it's set in the 90s, and I really hope it'll be good. But my all I was saying is I'm not like super like excited.
But it feels like a formula. Like Marvel have been like, right, so Wonder Woman is really successful. Ooh, things that tap into nostalgia are really successful. How can we make this work? Everyone wants female leads now. You know what I mean? Like, Marvel have been really behind on this. They've not led it at all.
No. They had this mapped out.
So like they say
7 years ago. No, they literally do. They go to they announce it to the world. They've got up till like 2025 or something.
So 7 years ago, they said we're releasing Captain Marvel on the 8th of March 2019.
No, something like that. They literally. I don't have the facts to hand, but they literally stand. Kevin Feige, the Marvel guy, stands up on stage and then says, "Here are the next 40 movies that we're doing in this order." And so Captain Marvel has been on that list for ages.
Are you sure? You're going to fact check after this?
Yeah, I'm going to fact check while me and Oscar go off to rhyme time.
Anyway, quickly, you need to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes thing.
Go see this movie.
What about the Rotten Tomatoes thing?
I mean, I don't think I have time to get into that on this side of the movie. You're going to be late.
Well, I've brought it up now.
Okay, so if anybody doesn't know what happened on Rotten Tomatoes, there's a horrible segment of the world/internet who are trolling this movie because, well, it's I can only see it as misogynistic reasons. It started as somebody tweeting that she should smile more in the
oh yeah, which is a common criticism against women.
It's like awful stuff. And which she had a great response on her Instagram. She posted a photoshopped posters of Captain America, Doctor Strange and Iron Man with big smiles on their face. It's terrifying. So
she is so cool, Brie Larson.
But the movie hadn't even been released. This is weeks ago, and suddenly there were hundreds and hundreds of negative reviews of the movie that nobody had seen.
It's awful. It's like the stuff around Ghostbusters when that was re-released.
It's very similar, and so Rotten Tomatoes had to turn off the audience reviews for that movie, and I think they've actually changed their. They don't put it on for movies that haven't been released yet.
Well, however, that would make sense. Anyway, Rotten Tomatoes, people shouldn't have the capability of reviewing a movie that's not been released.
But it went on general release yesterday, and they had a flood of 58,000 audience reviews, which is more than Infinity War apparently had in its entire run.
Right.
So this had it on day one, and most of them were obviously nonsense because they ended up deleting them. There's only 7,000 left now. So it's probably somebody did like loads of duplicate spam ones, but it had like an audience score of like 17%.
That's so weird. Like, why would someone spend their time doing that?
I don't understand. What I don't understand by these people is, why do they feel so threatened? It's a movie. So what? It's a movie about a woman.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be like Wonder Woman, where yes, there's a female lead, but there's a lot of male leads in it as well.
It's so bizarre. I don't understand these people who tout like this is the feminist agenda and these social justice warriors and all these things. It's like, what are you talking about? A, it's a movie. B, hang on. Men have dominated the world for millennia, not to mention the entertainment industry.
But also, these are coming from existing comics.
So what? And it's like, what's the fear? What are they afraid of? That we're all going to end up in some like Star Trek The Next Generation episode where men are subjugated by women. It's not going to happen. It's
crazy because it's based on comic books.
For fuck's sake.
So they've already existed like for a long time. Anyway, that's crazy.
Yeah, but the same thing happened on The Last Jedi, which was also disgusting to the point where they were trolling the actors in that movie. I mean, it's like...
It's really weird. But we've totally gotten caught up in it all and barely spoken about the movie. So set in the 90s, I thought it was 80s. I think I was getting it confused with Wonder Woman.
Come on, you need to go see this movie.
I need to go see the movie.
Will you just wrap this up?
Okay.
You don't need to talk about the movie.
Okay.
You go watch it and we'll talk later.
Okay.
Bye.
So you're not from around here?
It's hard to explain. I keep having these memories. I see flashes. I think I had a life here. But I can't tell if it's real.
We have no idea what threats are out there. We can't do this alone. We need you.
I'm not what you think I am.
Right, we're back. 2 screenings of Captain Marvel later.
But I feel like I actually just went to see it because I haven't had any time to reflect on it because I've been running around after a toddler. So I feel like I just went to it.
Right, so what do you think of that? As always, no spoilers yet.
So I overall liked it, and there's some elements of it I really liked, and like without getting into specifics because we'll save that for Spoiler Street. Firstly, I think Brie Larson's like incredible in it, and I think she was just so perfectly cast. She's so charming, and she is really funny, and she comes across as someone who's like genuinely intelligent and physically very strong.
And kind of effortless as well.
Really
right?
effortless. Like, she basically, you come away from that movie thinking, like, I want to hang out with her. Which I don't often come away from these movies liking any of the characters. So that was cool. And then I think that it was, like, very overtly feminist, which I found cool. And obviously it was co-written by a woman, co-directed by a woman. And there was, you know, like some like really unapologetic feminist stuff in there, which was really cool, which I'll talk about in Spoiler Street again, but kind of essentially about like tapping into your emotions and using that as power. And it's like a really, really common put down of women, that they're too emotional. So I love that this movie turned that on its head, and actually being emotional was like kind of the source of her powers, which was awesome. I love the stuff with Nick Fury. I thought Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson were like amazing together, but they like sizzled on screen and were really brilliant. But then it's a funny thing, because the nearest point of comparison is in this world, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy, and it feels quite flat compared to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
it doesn't have the same vibrancy, and I didn't think
the chemistry's not quite there. There was that sort of quick fire, sparky sort of energy that Guardians of the Galaxy.
But I think it's
kind
the
of
script.
missing a little.
I
Yeah,
think the dialogue let it down.
I agree, and you can tell, you can almost feel the moments when it was punching for that.
Yeah, and the like Ben Mendelsohn.
And I thought it was
brilliant.
kind of flat.
Like Ben Mendelsohn was so cool, and like
Agree.
so. All the elements were there, but I felt like the script let it down a little bit, and I really felt like the music let it down. Like I felt like they kind of shoehorned the 90s stuff in, and they never
totally
quite
shoehorned.
properly went for it. And there's a moment where
Felt
they
inorganic.
play. Yeah, and there's a moment where they play "I'm Just a Girl" when she's fighting, and I just thought this is so on the nose.
On the nose.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just like
I
was
completely agree
conflicted
with you.
because I really enjoyed the fight scene. I'm not one for fight scenes, but I really enjoyed the fight scenes in this movie because they were very like hand to hand and like really well choreographed, and she was like kicking ass, and I really felt like that was empowering to watch. And like, you know, if I had a daughter, or even for Oscar, I'm so happy for like kids to see like a woman being physically strong, albeit I don't condone violence naturally. But when they played "I'm Just a Girl" over it, I just thought it was too much for me. I just thought it was silly. But yeah, so overall I definitely enjoyed it. I think she's really good. I think it's a bit disappointing that a lot of the humour was given over to like Nick Fury and like Ben Mendelsohn's characters, because I would have liked her to be the one driving that, like for example the way Chris Pratt does in Guardians, or the way like another close example to this one is Thor, and like Chris Hemsworth drives the humour in that. So I would have liked to see her do that more. But overall,
She
I definitely
drive a lot of humour.
She did, but not as much as those two, I thought. No, but also it's not as funny as a lot of the Marvel movies. And I was in a really quiet screening, and nobody was laughing, and I laughed out loud once or twice. Actually, I was the only one who laughed.
I thought I did get a couple of chuckles, but overall, like I felt like it was reaching for jokes, and they weren't landing. So I found that really awkward when I'm sitting in a cinema and nobody's laughing, and there's almost like they'd almost added in a beat for people to laugh before the next scene, and that beat was just hanging on the screen,
working.
and I felt like,
and I think the problem is because we're like absolutely 100% naturally gonna compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy, because they're so close, and her and Peter, what's his name, Quill are really very similar, including their origin stories. So for me, that stuff just, it's a shame that like we've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, because we might have felt different about this otherwise. And then finally, I love the stuff on female friendship. I thought her best friend was amazing, the actress, and I love that Annette Bening was in it. She was brilliant. So yeah, overall I am positive about it. I think it was a breath of fresh air after the last Avengers, which was quite heavy, and then the last Ant-Man was the last one we saw, which I had found to be a particularly poor movie. So it's definitely a step up from that, and you know, long overdue female leading movie. So I just wish that it had been a bit better.
I should have gone first, because you just said that. I can't top what you just said. I just agree with everything you said.
Well, then I'm glad I went first, so that I don't have. Well,
so like, I feel like I don't know what else to say, because
really?
I 100% agree with every single thing you said. I thought it was
great.
good.
Review done. Bye.
That's kind of it. Yeah, I don't know.
But did you enjoy it?
I'm just going to end up repeating myself. No, I everything you said.
Yeah?
I thought it was good. I liked it. It wasn't great. The comedy felt flat. She was brilliant. Like I can't disagree with the thing. I know people like when we disagree, so this is probably going to be really boring, because you're just completely right.
It's a shame. We were actually going to do this review with Helen O'Hara, who is the editor-at-large of Empire magazine and like the biggest Marvel fan in the world. And she was due to come on, but we couldn't organise it. And I would have loved to have her here, because I would love to have someone who's like, I know you're a diehard Marvel, but she's like hardcore, and it would have been cool to have someone who maybe was a bit more into it than we were.
It's a shame we couldn't work it out with Helen.
But like we're both very neutral on it. Like I would say, of all the Marvel movies I've seen, it certainly would be in the top few, but I never rate any of them particularly high anyway. But
I feel like it was lacking a certain sort of
just lacking
style
a punch.
or punch or flair.
It was really lacking the direction and the writing of Guardians, like that really punchy. And then it was interesting at the end, I saw like 5 or 6 people wrote the story, numerous people wrote the script, and 2 people directed it, and it kind of had that feeling of
Committee.
not being one big vision that was brought together by one big mind.
No, Vision wasn't in this one. But you're right, and I think back to the point of the soundtrack, and I think that's an important important comparison point to Guardians. And I know it's slightly unfair. You can't help but compare them. They're literally in the same Marvel universe, but they're in they're in the same galaxy.
It's
They've got
not
the
unfair.
same race. The same villain is in it, Ronan.
What's unfair and what annoys me is when people talk about this next to Wonder Woman. It's like they're nothing to do with each other. They're just two movies that happen to have women as the lead.
Yeah,
but it's very fair to compare this to Guardians, and it's very fair to compare it to the first Thor, because it was those elements that Thor had where it was like the fish out of water when he was on Earth that I loved, and I felt like they didn't quite didn't live up to those elements of the first Thor either that I loved. And then the last Thor movie, which was really vibrant and funny despite me not loving it, this also lacked the humour of the last Thor movie.
It just wasn't kind of sparky enough, because it was trying for the soundtrack in Guardians is so brilliantly selected, and it's kind of core to Peter Quill's persona.
Oh, it was incredible, the soundtrack to Guardians.
But also, it's just a great soundtrack, and so many
Come
of those.
Get your love.
I know I cannot hear that song without having a picture of Peter Quill dancing in my head. Like,
whereas this, if I hear "I'm Just a Girl," it's like I won't be thinking of this movie.
It was trying so hard to be 90s,
but it didn't try. But this is what annoys me. It actually didn't try hard enough. So the only kind of explicit 90s stuff was like, oh, there's a Blockbuster video, and then there's a Radio Shack or whatever, and then randomly in parts of the movie
a lot of computer stuff.
Yeah, but not even a lot though. And then randomly every now and then it felt to me like someone just slapped in a 90s song.
The soundtrack felt slapped in.
The soundtrack didn't feel like it was conceived of as they were writing the movie. It felt like something that was added on at the end. Except maybe the Just a Girl thing. Maybe they thought, this would be an amazing moment. And I did kind of enjoy it, but I felt conflicted because I was like, it's so stupid.
Like, I gotta say, it bothers me with... and we kind of addressed this in the Lady Bird review a bit as well. It bothers me when stuff of an era is all glossy nostalgia stuff, because we all lived it. Well, if you're younger than 23, we were all there in 1995, and I can tell you, like, TLC wasn't on the radio every minute. Like, we listened to old songs.
TLC was on the radio a lot.
No, but look, of course they were, but like, why not just have a 60s or 70s song in the background?
They only had about 5 songs in the movie. If they'd not played 90s songs for those songs, I think
but she had a 9 Inch Nails t-shirt, and it was just
but I think that's okay. I think they didn't do enough. I would have liked more 90s stuff, to be honest.
Really?
But I think we should get to Spoiler Street on this one.
I don't have much else to say. I liked it. I did like it. I had a fun time.
Oh, I definitely recommend. Like, if you're into Marvel movies, I definitely recommend it. If you have young kids, I recommend it because I think it's really important for young kids, well, and everyone, to see a movie where there's a really strong female lead like that. And I think kids would really enjoy it. There was none in my audience. Was there any in yours?
Oh, loads of kids, and they were loving it.
Oh, good. Okay.
I think there wasn't a lot of like laughter or whatever. Actually, the thing that the kids in my audience loved most was the trailer for the Avengers Endgame. Before the movie, they started cheering.
I have to say that actually, I made it really early, so I saw all the trailers, and I thought the Avengers trailer looked really good. I thought it was a very well-made trailer. Did you watch it? Because I know you try and avoid it.
I'd stuck my fingers in my ears and closed my eyes, and then I felt like a bit of a loser, and I could hear it anyway, so I just watched it.
It's a good trailer. Right, Spoiler Street for Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
I think the Captain Marvel stuff was all very strange, and I still don't know where the name come from because they didn't say it in the movie.
Marvel is Annette Bening's name.
But then no one called her Captain, and no one called her Captain Marvel.
I guess she was a captain because she was in the Air Force, but like...
Firstly I'm going to address the stuff I really like that I kind of didn't want to be spoilery on.
Yeah.
And I actually got really emotional, like, ironically, on this. When they're kind of emphasising through her memories to her that... when Annette Bening was basically like the Wizard of Oz, which was quite cool. You failed, and these are all the times you fell.
That was brilliant.
And then we saw, and all the times men are ridiculing her, and like she's not good enough to like fly in a plane. She's not good enough to swing on these ropes. She's not good enough to drive this race car when she's a kid. And her dad's putting down, her brother's putting her down, everyone's putting her down. And then they just did a montage of every time she got up again, and I found that so powerful, and I was crying, and I thought that was such an amazing message. And it's like, do you know what? It's actually not all about physical strength. It's about like enduring and trying when you fall to get up again, and like being human. And I just loved that it all came back to her humanity and like what Jude Law had been telling her to squash her emotions. was actually, you know, not right for her at all.
And she said, I've got nothing to prove to you.
Oh my God, when she said, I've got nothing to prove to you, to Jude Law, because I actually thought she was just going to do a hand-to-hand fight with him without her powers, and I was like, fuck that. Like, you just stop, like, rocket launches hitting the earth with, like, your body. Like, that moment when she fully realised her powers was so cool. And so I really enjoyed that stuff. Funnily, Jude Law, not to discredit the actor, has nothing to do with him, I found his character very uncompelling. Like, at the start, the first 10 minutes of the movie, I thought were so bad, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to sit through this, because it's quite unusual, and I guess you can afford to do it in the Marvel.
I liked the storytelling, the way they constructed the narrative around this.
I really like it when I look at it as a whole. It's a bit jarring
at the beginning. I was a bit like, where are we?
When I look at it as a whole now, I admire it, and I think because it's the Marvel Universe, they can do things like that, because they know people are going to watch the movie. But at the start, I was like, what's happening? Why is Jude Law Basil exposition? This is so boring. And I only got into it
when he's on the alien subway with her, and he's like, as you know, our society is run by a supreme intelligence.
Who's basically the Wizard of Oz. But basically, like, until the moment when she left Jude Law and the gang 15-20 minutes in and got kidnapped by Ben Mendelsohn, that's when it got good for me. And up until that point, I was thinking, oh my God, this is like awful.
I gotta say, in those first 5 minutes, Jude Law showed up, they had the fight, and I was like, Jude Law's the bad guy.
Oh really? I didn't see that.
Oh yeah, like
actually didn't see it coming.
Betrayal moment later, traitor, bad guy.
I didn't see it coming until Ben Mendelsohn showed up, or whatever his name is, and they like.
I didn't see the twist with Ben Mendelsohn.
That was really good.
I really enjoyed
but
that.
But I also thought, well, now you just believe him. Like, she just believes anything anyone tells her.
I know, yeah.
Like, he offered no proof that he wasn't the baddie.
No, he did offer the proof when he was reconnected with his daughter, and turns out he likes having children.
But like, even baddies love their kids. Like, even baddies love their kids.
But they were very demonstrably refugees, and like in many ways. Like,
well, yeah, but still, that doesn't mean he's not a baddie.
No, of course, but he was a nice guy, and he had an Australian accent, even though he was an alien.
I know, yeah. I loved her friend really and her friend's daughter. I love that plot. About them just like supporting each other as friends and as women, and how when it came down to it, Brie Larson went on that flight knowing her life was at risk, because she would never have wanted her friend to risk her life because she had a daughter.
However, sorry, we're a little all over the place here. It really annoyed me the way her friend was like, she was like, come with me, I need a co-pilot, and her friend was like, no way, I'm a mother and I'm not going to do that and go fight aliens, that's stupid. And then her daughter's like, oh, go on, it'll be fun. And then she's like, okay. It's that's the wrong move to do.
Because in every movie ever about pilots who are always men, we never hear a man going, oh, but I'm a father, I can't go and do that.
No,
so
but
this movie was balancing
that.
Hang on,
I'm not saying she shouldn't have gone because she's a woman and a mother. I'm saying to go that she was a parent who was in front of her child. Like,
but
and
the
also,
child said, I want to aspire to like a kick-ass mom. But what annoyed me is that she seemed to know how to fly in space.
But she didn't.
She's never been in space before. What was modified about that airplane that made it be able to go into space and they could fly it in space?
Cathy,
this makes no sense.
The Skrull guy was like, I'll make some modifications, it'll take 5 minutes, I have all the resources I need at your house.
My favourite humour in it was
and that's all you need to know, including an anti-gravity unit.
Yeah. We are all over the place with this, but just because I'm just remembering stuff, I really enjoyed the scene when they were in that plane in space somehow, and the two women were piloting, the two men were in the back. First of all, to my memory, I've never seen that in a movie. 2 women pilots and 2 men passengers. I've just never seen it. So I thought that was a really striking image. And then I really enjoyed the humour going on in the back when like Nick Fury's like, so is this like normal space stuff? And Ben Mendelsohn just like shakes his head like no.
Yeah.
And then the stuff with the cat I found
Mendelsohn
really funny.
The cat stuff was funny.
I loved the cat stuff. But honestly, to that visual of the 2 women, I've never seen it. And I loved all the Top Gun stuff with them. Like, there's so much about this movie I liked. I just think it could have been tightened up. It was the pacing was a bit all over the place, not unlike this episode of the cinema. And it just could have been a bit better, but I mean,
there was a lot of fun stuff. I loved all the stuff with the Skrulls shape shifting.
I love that. Yeah, I love when they became the surfers.
It was done really well. Yeah, there was a lot of fun to be had in this. I liked the fight she had on the train.
Yeah, that was cool, and she punched the old woman.
Yeah, that was all great fun.
Actually made me laugh out loud when she punched the old woman in the face.
And everyone's trying to stop her.
Like, what? Yeah. That was really enjoyable. And I really liked that Brie Larson had no love interest in this.
Yeah.
It just was all about friendship between her and Nick Fury, and her bestie.
True. I hadn't even noticed that.
I just really liked that, and I was really pleased. And then there was one thing, I wonder what you think. you know the way you said that people were like trolling it online saying, oh, you should smile. And then there was a line about that
the
in
guy
the movie.
in the motorbike.
That was definitely done. I think that was done.
I actually read during the credits.
But can I tell you my theory?
Oh, go on, yeah.
That was totally done after the movie was made.
Okay, well,
because she was standing there behind a newspaper, so you couldn't see her face. I know, but can I not say my theory first?
Sorry,
she was standing there with a newspaper behind her face. I was like, body double. And then it cut back to a scene which had clearly been in the movie where she'd stolen a motorbike. Well, that's what I thought anyway.
No, somebody had the same theory and had asked her that on the press tour, and she said no, that was always in the movie.
Oh, really?
It's just a complete coincidence.
Okay.
But
so that's the only time she was really objectified as a woman in the whole movie.
But actually, it's not just a coincidence. I mean, it's a very common thread. Even you said at the beginning, it's a very common
it's a really
thing
common criticism.
that misogynist men say to women, isn't it?
Yeah, they don't smile enough. Or ironically,
more.
they're overly emotional and shouldn't be in boardrooms because they can't keep their emotions in check.
Well,
so funny. 2 things that came up in this movie.
It is funny that, though, the feminist stuff, I think it didn't, I thought it was handled very well. It's not so front and centre that it's what the movie's about necessarily.
No,
but
it's just when you're aware of it.
Yeah, and I think it's woven in very well to the movie.
So if you're watching it thinking, how are they making a point about this being a female lead? And you're like, right, they're very much delivering on that. But I think if I was hadn't been thinking of that in the first place, it would have all watched over me and it just would have been nice and subconscious. But
the thing is, the fact that somebody could watch that movie and feel, a man or whoever, and feel threatened by that message or feel threatened by that movie, and then that's silly, but it's even more silly that people are threatened by it without even having seen it. It's the equivalent of people protesting outside The Life of Brian in the 70s who didn't see it either.
It's mind-boggling to me that,
look,
the Life of Brian thing, if you're like staunchly Catholic and this movie is clearly taking the piss out of your religion, right? I actually understand that more than a movie about a woman who's got superpowers in the world of superhero movies. You know what I mean?
It's just so funny that this innocuous superhero movie.
That's the thing. It's so innocuous. It's essentially a B movie. Like I was watching it, thinking, it's funny you mentioned Star Trek: Next Generation, because there was the point when they were all in the spaceship towards the end, and she had like the thing in the box, and they were all like, I just felt like that could have been an episode of Next Generation. Like it didn't feel like anything big scale.
Well, actually, on that point, and I kind of have the same issue with Guardians of the Galaxy and all the galaxy stuff in the Avengers universe. It feels very not fleshed out. I never have a sense of who these species are, the scale of the universe, the technology.
Like,
the technology
seems
to be you can just warp from one place to another instantly, yet they're all after this light speed technology. I mean,
but she landed on Earth instantly, right? Which I found strange because then Jude Law said it would take him 22 hours to get there.
Well, exactly. None of it really makes sense. And I know this is because maybe it's lived in the comic book world for 60 years and has this vast thing. But as a fan of sci-fi, I always find it kind of there's not enough meat on the bones of it, and it's always very cursory. And I found the same problem in Guardians of the Galaxy, where Ronan shows up and is like, my species were white, like whatever, there's a war happening. I mean, none of it really has substance.
Was he Jude Law's boss? Oh yeah, I thought he looked familiar. I thought we'd seen him before. But yeah, I think again, I don't think we're running out of things to say about it.
It's not great sci-fi, that stuff.
It's a B movie, and I'm really pleased she's the star of it, and it's fine, basically, right? And there's loads of enjoyable moments, and a lot of the Nick Fury stuff I really enjoyed, and this helps with he's kind of the only long-standing character, so I really enjoyed all the stuff around him explaining his name to her, and then when we realised who, the boss wasn't the boss because he called him Nicholas, and then I loved the stuff with his eye being scratched out by the cat, but he lets them all believe that it was
that was
scratched out by the baddies.
But
and we haven't even talked about the CG on him, Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh my god, I didn't spot a single flaw.
I actually wouldn't have known they'd done it if I hadn't read it, and if I hadn't just seen Glass, where he does look older.
Hang on, holy shit, how did they just do that? I just forgot that it was even a thing.
They did it on the other guy as well, right, who's in the other
Clark
Avengers
Gregg
movies.
Yeah, there was a couple of moments where Clark Gregg, maybe it was just his eyebrows looked a bit funny or something, but I don't know. But
Samuel L. Jackson, it was incredible what they did with him. It was just
seamless. I mean, it's got terrifying implications for the future of movies.
It was really good.
If you can just
and at one point I thought, don't make them hook up, because I know he's playing someone much younger, but
There
he's
was
actually
never-
in his 70s, and I was afraid they were going to make
but
him
there
do
was
it.
I don't think
No,
there was
there
ever
was
any
never.
threat
No,
about
it was just me
It was
like
just a really
hoping.
solid friendship.
No, it was just me hoping at the start, but luckily it never
I
materialized.
will say there were, back to the movie feeling a bit flat. There was and not feeling fleshed out in places. There was literally that whole bit, in that Pegasus facility. You said the fun bit with his boss showing up and all that.
And the sellotape and the fingerprint, that was fun.
That was fun, but however, that whole thing felt literally like an empty hangar. We saw one member of staff who showed up and led them to a room, and then there wasn't anyone else. And how were they just wandering around? Nobody showed up. There was a huge fight. Do you know what I mean? It just felt like an empty CG set.
Yeah, because that's what it was.
That kind of bothered me. It was missing a bit of.
And then she stole a plane, right? But how did she? Okay, I don't know much about planes, but she managed to get a plane from being on the ground to immediately up in the air and out of the hangar. Don't like planes have to go on a runway for a while. Because this is supposed to be the 90s. It wasn't supposed to be high-tech, futuristic stuff.
Yeah, but it was NASA facility. I don't know.
Okay.
We're getting way into nitty-gritty here.
Come on, we need to wrap up because it's really cold.
Anyway, good fun. I probably wouldn't rush to watch it again, but I liked it. And I'm quite excited to see her in
That's what
Endgame.
I was going to say.
Did you stay for the
I saw
first...
the first one. I didn't see the second one.
Oh, yeah, I didn't stay for the second one either because I Googled it to see what it was.
And
it was just basically like the Ant-Man one. It was just
What
like
is
a
it?
little... It's just the cat again, and the cat vomits up the Tesseract, apparently.
That's fine. I did
So I
enjoy
don't
that
need to
moment
see
when
that.
the cat turned into the octopus thing. But yeah, that's what I thought because I hadn't been particularly interested in seeing the next Avengers. But now that I know she's in it, I think she's awesome. So I'm really excited to see her. And this is what I always enjoyed about with Guardians and Thor, when we got to see them meet the Avengers, because I find the Avengers themselves quite dull, and I'm sick of watching them. So I like when they inject fresh blood, and I'm hoping she comes in as the leader and she's leading them all, even Captain America and Iron Man, who are always kind of the leaders. I hope she's the leader of all of them, and they're going to have to do the opposite, right, and age her up, which is going to be quite interesting. Oh no, but
she probably has this. She doesn't age now, probably because she's infused.
Oh yeah, because they showed her and she hadn't aged.
No.
Oh, shame. I was looking forward to that. But yeah, I can't honestly this has made me more excited about the Avengers movie, whereas Iron Man made me less excited.
But she's
about it.
more powerful than any of them.
Yeah,
right?
she's awesome. When she flew through all those missiles in space, that was so cool.
Oh, she just flew through a whole ship.
And it looked amazing, and I found that so cool when she was infused with all of the power that had been in her all along. She just needed to untap it. I loved all that.
And I love the sort of mohawk style of her
helmet.
Her helmet
yeah,
thing.
That was cool. But yeah, okay, right, let's go.
All right.
Thank you everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you like listening to us, we would greatly appreciate if you have Apple Podcasts to search for the Cinemile, subscribe, and give us a rating. It takes maybe a minute, but if you enjoy listening to all of these free episodes we give you,
subscribe to us on whatever platform you're on.
Any platform, but it's just a weird thing that for whatever reason, the currency of podcasts lies in Apple Podcasts, because it's the only kind of big platform that aggregates reviews like that, and it just helps other people find us, so it's just really beneficial to us. So anyway, thank you. Please do that. Also catch us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook at The Cinemile.
You can email us, thecinemile@gmail.com.
Yes, and let us know if there's any upcoming movies you want us to go and see, because we're kind of struggling to get to the cinema bit at the moment, so we're prioritising. So we'd like to know what you guys want us to see.
Yeah, and we always email back.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of you have emailed us, and don't we always email back?
We always email back.
If we didn't email back to someone, we're sorry, first of all, and then send us a follow-up email, and then I'll apologise.
Okay,
bye.
How do we know you're not one of those shapeshifters?
Congratulations, Agent Fury. You have finally asked a relevant question.
Oh, congratulations to you, Star Force lady. You're under arrest.